Today, I'm joined by Mr. Sina Moini, founder of Consulting Growth. He has helped many startups with their funding, business valuation, and much, much more. Thanks, Sina, for joining us. Today, we are going to talk about the challenges that startups are going to face when they are operating their business. Thank you, and let us know what you do.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Yeah, it was such a pleasure, joining. And let's just discuss over this very important issue these days. My education is about accounting, finance, strategies, and entrepreneurship. And, for the last 20 years, I've been serving various types of industries from manufacturing, commercial, service industries, consulting, and education. Well, my main job during the last few years was, helping small businesses scale up in terms of their building sustainable business and financial plan in particular. And I'll do it by, evaluating and assessing and improving their business models and, financial systems and manuals.
Very good. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe share with us some of the challenges that you faced and you heard, like when a startup founders talk to you about what they are dealing day to day, and what are the challenges like financially or operationally or strategically when they are making those decisions to scale or to fund. Tell us more about those challenges a little bit.
Yeah, sure. The point is that here in the country and, for the startups I used to handle and I've been handling these years, the main, focus point has been always how they can handle and manage their finances and financial. And I mean, by finances, it's not just funding and, attracting funds. It's just handling with their general financial affairs, like let me just tell you that this financial management, the whole process thing. So there has always been, some lessons from them that I've learned, and precious lessons actually. When you receive their primary business plan, and when you take a look at that, you see they are not, in particular, we are not expecting a CEO or the owner of the startup or small business have this really accounting and financial, reporting background. So they definitely have not this knowledge of appropriately draft very effective and real, like cash flow management, or even a very simple, financial report. I better say a forecast, because when I'm bringing this, small businesses on the table, we definitely are thinking about that. Okay, the first or primary, financial reports will be their cash flow management, rather preparing their financial, statements like balance sheet and the rest of the ones. So the main issue has always rest on they cannot, craft appropriate budget and cash flow forecast. Yes.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Like based on my experience working with different startups and like a lot of companies, what I see is like the founders, they're so innovative people, right? Because they came up with the idea and they're so passionate about what they do. But then when it comes to like they go and then they're like, we want to do this, we want to make this decision, we want to go and then let's just expand. They are so passionate about expanding their business, but what they lack, I guess, financially, they're strong operationally, but what they lack financially is, okay, how those decisions are gonna translate into numbers, or how can, like, are they gonna make money? What's the margin percentage? And then what's the future of the company is gonna look like if you go that route and then like instead of this way. So that has been my experience, and all those decisions has to be backed by numbers and financial expertise, definitely.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. The point is that mainly they sometimes we have this coaching, meeting together, and then one by one, actually before this COVID-19, and horribly these days, having this kind of an online coaching, which is very difficult for startups to believe that, all right, the coach is, sitting somewhere in the world or in the home. So we used to have this very much face-to-face connections. But anyway, the point is that, when you are coming up with this startup idea, it's very important that you are monitoring the whole financial process with you, the idea. Because when we're talking about this ideation process and then the idea is being assessed, definitely no doubt the finances, I mean, your sales forecast, I mean, your acquisition rate, the customer marketing expenses, a lot of things should be, taken into account. So they know that they should prepare and they should think about it. But it seems that almost 80 to 90% of their thoughts is so much engaged with this operational, like, let's say, code developing, code writing, and just app development. While I always say that, all right, you have just developed this app, very much fascinating. But the point is that how come you are thinking or imagining this growth while you have not thought of your finances?
Definitely.
I'm pretty sure that you have faced with this too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then it goes back to that passion, because they just want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes I don't want to say like they see us as supportive, and then like as a coach, we need to sometimes stop them and say, hey, you know what? Let's just go through the numbers. Let's just go through the decision-making process and making sure, as you said, like the sales forecast is right, the numbers that you put together is correct and they make sense. And then when as a whole a business is right, then let's go for it. Sometimes as like they're like, oh, maybe I should hide it and just go for it.
Yeah,
That's been my
that's true.
experience.
That's true. That's for sure true. And very seriously speaking, they might have been, because for the last few, I mean, recent years, there are some concepts. I'm not calling them a floppy ones, but real ones that are so being practically used for the startups, like methods, approaches like the lean startup, like the scaling up methods. So the point is that from a finance aspect, they require some, let's say, a method or kind of a system should be in place to support them by expert people, like, not a traditional CFO, let's just say that, this virtual CFO. And for this, I'm totally sure that you have been working on this for the last few years. And would you share something over that?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to maybe talk about like different finance role before we dive into the what a virtual CFO is. And today, especially after COVID, everything is virtual. So what is a virtual CFO? So
Sure.
I guess like when we talk about a finance composition team for like, let's say like a big corporation over like $1 billion revenue, we have a huge team, like starting from bookkeepers, junior accountants, all these junior accountants and senior accountants, they all roll up to a CFO. The CFO is definitely a knowledgeable and insightful finance person. But for a smaller company, they don't have enough resources to actually afford a CFO, or I should say a bigger finance team. Like a lot of startups, and especially the lean startups, they run on such a small budget, you know what I mean? And then sometimes they're like, okay, I'm just gonna stick to my bookkeeper and then ask him or her all the questions that I have on my finances. So sometimes a bookkeeper doesn't have that enough knowledge, because like and knowledge and experience, because she or he hasn't been out there as much to work with different companies and bring the company the insight that they need. So what the virtual CFO does, or like there are different terms for this virtual CFO services, like it's called part-time CFO, fractional CFO. Like there are different titles. But what we do is we go and then work for different firms, especially startups and small businesses, that they don't have the resources to basically afford a full-time CFO. And we give them all the insights and information they need to grow, do, as you said, do your cash flow forecast, all the budgeting. And then the other thing that I wanted to also mention is when you work with an accountant, everything is so backward looking. What does that mean?
Yeah, definitely.
You as an accountant, you're always like live in the past, like past month,
Definitely.
past year, past
Definitely.
quarter.
Yeah.
And then but when you are the owner of the business, when you are the CEO and you want to make decisions for the future, you need a forward looking information. You need to look at your forecast, you need to look at what the market is doing in terms of funding and all those topics of finance, that they are like so forward looking and helps you make a strategic decision. So, and that's a CFO role, to bring all that insight to you and help you make that decision going forward.
Yeah, definitely. This has been a kind of a bottleneck in the process for managing startups. If you see, because there are a lot of differences between what the nature of small business is to this high corp. This bottleneck has been always that how they owners look at the role of finance experts like these virtual CFOs, and definitely this is totally different with what we know traditionally from what CFO is doing. It cannot be necessarily a person on the top of a pyramid and then dictating things. It's something that is totally participative, 100%, and then it is itself a coach in nature. I mean, the tasks of a virtual CFO could be definitely 100% a coaching things. And what the startups expecting from these coach are that face-to-face sitting together and then solve the problem, solve their forecasts, solve their tying between their historical and then this forward-looking attitude that they should have. I always say that it's not something like you look at past. You should never look at past, because you are definitely in a growth stage, as a startup cannot even should divorce from their past, and definitely 90% kind of a look to be implemented with regard to this some sort of future. Just look at the future and then expect future, plan for the future, manage your future, and while you're coping with your finances, definitely you have to set some goals and targets for that. This is something that we can later discuss in details, because
absolutely, such
this
a
is also a
great
strength
point.
for them.
Yeah, because like when you work in bigger corporation, like all those relationships are so like hierarchical, as you said, like a CFO or CEO, like it has like that pyramid look, and then like all those decisions come layer and layer, and then like when you are a junior accountant or like a normal bookkeeper, let's say, you don't have that much power to make a decision. But when you work in a startup, like all those relationships, it's all about, like, as you said, coaching and working together and collaborate on a project and make a decision all together. And that's so beautiful, because then as a coach or as a virtual CFO, like you bring all those people together and then show them, and then let the number talks, because number, they never lie.
Yeah, definitely. Number never lets a lie, and this is what they, I'm afraid, have not found out yet, because there has been a feeling to me that kind of a persistence from owners of the small businesses, that they are not seeing finance function as important as other functions, like those programmers, the operation, even the marketing and sales, because the finance, giving them a power to make a sound decision over what's going to happen in the future, or even analyze what they have had in the past. And so this is another lesson that I myself, appreciated. Definitely you did as well, with working with them.
Okay, Sina, I wanted to ask you a question. Okay, based on your experience and all those insights that you have, maybe tell us what is the number one challenge that a startup face, and then like I'm talking about more financially, and then from there maybe take us on a journey.
Definitely, yeah, sure. The point is that number one, from in terms of finance, will be that startups should set their financial goals kind of on a smart way, that the acronym. And then so this has been working. This has been for many years. This is SMART acronym, by the way. This can be applied for not only individuals but also businesses, and the merit of that is very important. So number one for all startups to look financially at their startup is that set your financial goals very smartly, very clearly, and you have to document that, because you definitely in the future should refer to that, to see the track, to see the history, to see the trends, and then you compare what have you been doing before, and learn a lesson to apply for your future. So yes, there have been a lot of courses, concerns, coaching meetings with them, and believe me, they unfortunately go further instead of sit and put their thoughts on the paper with regard to setting goals. And this could be the top priority, I guess, in terms of finance.
Yeah, such a great point, because like I have a client, he's really interesting. Like he comes into the office, or before COVID when I was working there on a part-time basis, or now virtually, he just calls me and he's like, tell me how much cash I have in the bank. And that's the most important question for him. But
Oh
sometimes
my.
I tell him, but sometimes I tell him, are you interested to know how are we using that cash? Like, are we growing? Like, where is that cash coming from and where the cash is going to? And then he's like,
Yeah.
just give me the number. So I guess like having all those pieces figured out at the beginning, as you said, like saying, okay, if I reach this level of revenue, I'm gonna make that decision. Or having the forecast and the budget beforehand and say, if I hit that much profit, that's the next decision I'm gonna make. And then having that a strategic plan in place is such a great point. Thank you so
And
much.
so
What do we
this is actually great. That I have seen the work that you have done with the startups tools, and how active you are in terms of on a regular basis, sharing experiences, sharing ideas, crafting some kind of planning, like the recent masterclass that you have prepared. Can you may tell us a little bit?
Thanks, Tina, for bringing that up. Yeah, because what I realized is like I have had so many clients that they're so excited about all these ideas that they have. Like, because they're so, as I said, they're like creative, innovative people, and they come up with so many great ideas, but then they
Mm-hmm.
get overwhelmed and they're like, oh, what's the next step after this? How can we do this? What's okay, I have this great idea, but I don't know where to go. How can I put the numbers together? How much is that gonna cost me? What's my revenue model? How can I charge the customers? And I thought maybe I can run a 2-day masterclass and bring all that insight I have from ideation, doing your business model canvas, and then looking at your customer journey and see how they can, what are the revenue models that you can charge, and what are all those innovative business models that are out there that you can utilize, and then take your idea from a start and then make a business out of it. So the masterclass is coming up. It's on April 30th, and I can't
That's
wait
fine.
to see you everybody there.
Definitely, I'll be attending there because there are definitely much things to learn. That's
I
fantastic.
might have a surprise for you, Sina. Let's
Oh,
see.
really? You cannot imagine how much I love surprises. Okay.
What do we
Yeah.
have for us next time? What are we going to talk about?
Another question. Well, if you ask me, there are a lot to discuss, but probably unlimited, sessions we can have for bring it up for the owners that are so useful, because definitely practical experiences are being shared, and precious lessons they can learn and apply in their startups in whatever stage are they, and whatever finances needs they are looking for. So we can, I believe that we can break down how setting goals for the startups from
Perfect.
financial.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And
Let's
definitely,
explore the
and
goals.
yeah, definitely expand that through this probably cash flow management, because the next step will be that, all right, I need this and that in terms of figures on a piece of paper, and then let's just discuss how we can arrive at those figures.
Yeah, because at the beginning, I promised everybody that we are going to bring a fresh perspective to their financials, because then startups can run a more successful and a scalable business. So I think
Sure.
starting from goals and like setting that financial strategic roadmap is a great idea. And then from there, we can move on to cash flow forecast and then the budget. Perfect. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. I
definitely.
really enjoyed this talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for your time.
Looking forward to the next one, Sina.
Yeah, sure. See you then
Have a
later.
great
Take care.
day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.